the Josephine Review Podcast. I am so happy that you guys could join me for a little while today. I am your host, Josephine. Thank you for joining me. This is episode 15. Yes, episode 15 of my podcast. I started last year and now here we are on YouTube. Today's show is titled, What's All the Commotion? What's all the commotion? Like, I don't get it. Please understand that the views I express on my show are that of my own, and you, my wonderful listeners, have the right to agree to disagree. If you miss any live shows from the Josephine Review Podcast, you can catch me on iTunes, Google Podcasts, social media platforms, Twitter and IG, and of course my website, thejosephinereviewpodcast.com, which will link you to the latest replay of the show's topics. So feel free to leave your questions and comments. I just might respond. Please like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. Please, we're trying to grow here. Help a sister out. Okay, now let's talk about it. Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion part 1. Okay, so I know you guys have watched it and you have seen some reviews on the show already, but now we're gonna go over my review of the show. Okay, the reunion started off very toxic with the help of the I Don't Like Kenya Brigade. There's a few on the show who don't like Kenya, or maybe a couple at this point. Now it's down to a couple, but quite obviously Andy was the cheerleader. As always, I don't understand how Kenya puts up with it, but there's no surprise there. No surprise at all. But first, let's get into the fashions, okay? So Candy was the mistress, the head mistress for the bachelorette party. So she's the head mistress for the reunion. And so she came dressed in theme ready attire, and I think it looked okay. I wanted her to have some sparkle on it though. I think that's what was missing, because everybody else on the stage had some type of sparkly, shiny something, and that's what her costume was missing. So aside from that, I think she looked okay. I saw a lot of people saying they didn't like it. I think that's just people bouncing off of what was already said about the bad pictures that were uploaded by Bravo a couple of weeks ago. But it didn't look bad. I mean, dominatrix, bachelorette, sex dungeon theme. I think she kind of nailed that. I don't know much about dominatrix, but I mean, she had the leather down pat and the whip. So, hey, I thought she looked okay. Moving on to Kenya. Kenya looked amazing. I love the sparkles. Some people said she didn't need the detailing on her neck. I thought that was nice, a nice addition to bring the dress up some more, I loved her hair. Her top knot was gorgeous, and she looked great also. Moving on to Cynthia. I loved Cynthia's bob. I love the color blonde, the different variations of the color she had in her bob. I love the waves in the bob, and her dress was nice. I thought she looked classy. Well, they all looked classy. Let me say that. They all looked classy, but Cynthia was more poised. Okay. Latoya came out towards the end as a cliffhanger for the part 2 of the reunion. I thought her hair and her makeup was the best I've seen this whole season, because the whole season she was more casual a lot of the time. she was more glammed up for the reunion, and I thought it looked really good. Portia. I thought Portia was beautiful. Portia's a beautiful woman. Her hair was nice. I liked it. I liked her dress. I felt her dress was just the opposite of Candy's. She had too much sparkle. I wish she would have had a little more variation of textures in her dress, but nevertheless, she looked good. And Drew. I feel like Drew finally pulled it together. You know, when I saw her, I was like, hair, face, dress, yes. I thought she looked good compared to the duration of the season, okay? I felt she looked great at the reunion. It was understated. Her makeup was understated, which was great because she wore a lot of makeup during the season, very heavy makeup. And so for the reunion, it was a little more muted. And I actually liked that. I liked her hair pulled back. Yes, she borrowed from Candy and Cynthia's wedding with the sparkles on the ponytail, covering the ponytail in the back. I liked it. You know, it's okay to borrow when it looks good. She looked great. A lot of people were saying she looked boring. I disagree. I thought she looked okay. All the ladies looked beautiful to me. There were a few things I would have tweaked here and there, but they looked great. Moving on. A lot of people were saying they did not like the sideburns on Drew's hair. I had to go back and look at it because I didn't really pay that much attention the first time around. But, I mean, you know, it could have been a little softer. But, you know, I'm comparing her reunion look to her looks for the season. And so I'm going to let her slide with the sideburns. Yeah. So, on to the reunion topics. Okay, first up, they talked about Black Lives Matter and Kenya's opinions towards Portia, like judging her activism or whatnot, criticizing her activism, and which actually has to do, Kenya's comments we know now from Candy, revealing it on her show. Kenya's comments were a part of a bigger situation that involved Candy, Portia, and Kenya, with some stuff that happened behind the scenes. Some stuff was filmed, but they cut that out of the show, so we only saw Kenya's comments that were left in to amp up her villain role as always. We know that Kenya was defending her friend who fought to have more black production company jobs at Bravo. You know, I'm gonna give Candy a big shout out for that, because in the end game, reading the Variety article, watching Portia's Instagram live about the situation, it seems that Portia was just mad because she didn't do it first. And she couldn't force control of the narrative because she likes to be in control so that she can manipulate things for the image that she wants to present to everyone. I wouldn't say there's really much wrong with that, but you can't control people. The only person you can control is your child, and that's only while they're under the age of 5. So trying to control some grown women, some adult women, especially a boss like Candy, nah, Portia, but nice try. You know, she wanted to be the only person highlighted for fighting for Black Lives Matter. Although, you know, she picks and chooses which black life she feels matters, which is hilarious, you know. She picked and chose when it came to Potomac. She had a lot to say about the Monique Candace debacle. Monique pummeled Candace in Potomac last season, and there Portia was, while she's fighting for Black Lives Matter, she's also championing Monique beating up a co-worker, which was all for nothing. in the end, in their reunion, we saw that was all for nothing. So for Portia, only certain Black Lives Matter. And it's the same on her show when it comes to Kenya. So, you know, to say that she wanted to be the only person highlighted on the show as fighting, you know, for Black rights, to piggyback off of her grandfather's history, you know, in Atlanta, I'm going to say that's just crazy. It's just crazy. Everybody on that show is Black. All the cast members are Black. So they should all be fighting for Black lives. It doesn't matter who's doing what. If Kandi was over there talking to corporate about what she wanted to have done or she felt needed to be incorporated, then you should just went on and talk to them about what you wanted done. It didn't matter who was the head of the charge, leading the charge. Just do the work. That's what matters. Do the work. And the more of us that are doing the work, the bigger the outcome is going to be. We are stronger when we fight together. And we are weak when we let them knock us down like dominoes, you know, putting us out of the way and having only one person that they could shut down whenever they feel the need to. So I disagree with Portia's stance on that. And Kenya was just defending her friend in that situation. That's what we see. But Andy, you know, he amped it up with Portia. And then you had Drew, who was like Portia's little lapdog, jumping in to attack Kenya about something that we didn't even get the full story on. You know, it was skewed towards Portia looking great. And, you know, that wasn't okay. But what we know is that, per usual, Kenya saw through her bullish and called her out on it. And Andy loves Portia, as we can see from this reunion, despises Kenya. He has to despise Kenya because he's never trying to shine her in a positive light, ever, you know. So Kenya wasn't shaming Portia's activism for no reason. It had to do with some stuff that hasn't been explained yet. Maybe they're going to talk about it on part 2 or part 3 of the reunion. I hope they do. But if they don't, we've already seen the information online. Anyway, so we already know what the tea is. So moving on to Kenya's stray comment. Okay, so Kenya said that at the beginning of the season about Drew and her husband when they were walking into Cynthia's house, and it was like fun shade. It was such a weak comment that just was funny, something you forget about. And Drew took it deeply personal, like it was an attack on her family, and, you know, used that in her obsession towards Kenya. And she said Kenya was coming for her family. But thanks to Twitter pulled the receipts on Drew, and we have proof online now that Drew was actually coming for Kenya. And she tried to use that as the reason why she was attacking Kenya all season on Twitter and in her confessionals. But the truth is, we saw that in the confessional from Kenya at the beginning of the season. So you had no idea that she said that until later on, Drew, unless a producer told you that she said it. You know, and even if she said that, it could have been addressed and done with. It was such a simple comment. It meant really nothing. It was funny. And then when we're watching Married to Medicine, we hear Dr. Heavenly saying the same thing about the strays. So I call it a production edit. That term was thrown in there by production for them to say. You know, once I start seeing things happen across the franchises, you know, it was nothing for Drew to cry home about, but we know she likes to cry. So we're going to leave that there. So now let's move on to Kenya's tweet about Josiah. Josiah is Drew's little baby boy. Well, he's the oldest boy, but he's still a baby, you know. About him meeting his dad, and Kenya tweeted something about it was a cringy moment and she knew that Josiah would much rather be playing Minecraft. So Drew, in her rehearsed reaction, lost her mind at Kenya, and that's when we saw what she was crying about, because she felt Kenya made a poor comment about her son, when Kenya actually didn't say anything bad about her son. She was talking about the situation was bad, and that I don't think that should have been on TV. And social media reflects what Kenya said. Like 98% of social media said that the moment was cringy, it was uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, why is Drew showing this? Maybe this shouldn't have been on TV. It was a sensitive moment. How could Drew use her son for ratings and to keep her spot on the show or to have a storyline? Those are all things that was said online, Drew. So Kenya saying something about your son directly, no. Saying that he probably much rather play Minecraft is just saying he looked uncomfortable and he wasn't having fun. Kids love video games, and Minecraft and Roblox are some video games that they like where they have fun. So maybe he would have liked to have been doing that instead of being in an uncomfortable adult-like situation. That's all. It was about the situation and not about your son. But cue Drew with the crying.
You made me still one of my boys in the back of the head. And I know you had something to do with what happened to my brother, Quick. Yo, man, I don't know what you're talking about. That's bullshit, man. You know what I'm talking about. You broke my nose, man.
You know, Drew is hilarious. She's an actress. We know that. We know that she's an actress, and she is getting a lot of practice on Real Housewives of Atlanta, especially on the reunion at that moment. She was getting her practice on, okay? The very melodramatic reaction about the tweet, which wasn't really about her child in a negative way, was funny. It was another example of Drew being manipulative, because that's what she does. She manipulates just like Portia, which is probably why Drew gravitates towards Portia. But I don't feel like Portia really is feeling Drew like that. She kind of gives me the feeling like she doesn't really care for Drew like that, but since we both have a common enemy, I'm going to be cool with you as an ally for that reason. That's what I get from Portia. Aside from that, I don't know. But I really wish Kenya wouldn't have said, let Josiah play a video game instead of being in an uncomfortable situation or whatever, what have you. Because that was the moment Drew had been looking for the entire season, and she took that moment finally at the reunion to have her breakdown. And yeah. Now let's move on to Andy coming for Kenya. He came for her weight. Andy, were you body shaming a woman? Were you really, Andy? Why would you do that? That wasn't nice. Everybody gained COVID weight. So what? So what? You're going to focus on it and bring it to everyone's attention at the reunion of all places? And you could have asked her that on What Happens Live. You could have called her on the phone and asked her about that. You know, even though a lot of people discuss their weight, their COVID weight on TV, I felt you were body shaming. He was body shaming, and it wasn't okay. And then he showed ageism, as though he is young. He is not young. So to even be talking about Kenya and saying she's half a century old, he says she's half a century. She looks darn good at half a century old. And when I get there, I hope I look as good too. So Andy, I think you're just a hater. I think you want to look like Kenya. I think you want to look like Kenya. And because you don't, you're gonna take whatever moment to poke the bear. That wasn't okay though. Moving on to the Native American attire that Kenya wore for Halloween. It was poor taste. It was wrong. She should have known better. And she apologized. She moved on from it. And then she mentioned, she did like a boomerang effect to Drew and Portia because they both jumped in with Andy and started attacking Kenya. And Kenya was like, well, Drew, you wore an Indian costume for Halloween. And Portia, your sister Lauren wore Native American attire on the show before for Halloween. So no one said anything about that. And you didn't care when your sister did it. So why do you care that I'm doing it? You know, once she said that, they were like, nothing to say. Nothing to say. So I felt like it was a cheap shot at Kenya. Kenya set herself up for that. She was dead wrong for wearing it. She apologized. She said she understands. And that's the end of that, you know. But in the midst of that, once again, Drew lied. Drew rebutted with a statement saying she didn't have on Indian attire for Halloween. It was actually for some type of ancestry honoring she was doing with her mom and her family in Louisiana. Blah, blah, blah. No, Drew, because Candy pulled her coattail and said, no, girl, no, baby girl, you said hashtag Halloween. Hashtag Halloween. So you lied again, Drew. But we gonna move on from that. So move on to Andy bringing up something from 12 years ago with the Kenya Apollo Phaedra thing. What did he bring that up for? Especially after saying that Kenya shouldn't bring up old stuff about Portia with the Underground Railroad statement. But there Portia and Andy are attacking Kenya about Apollo. Like, that is older than the Underground Railroad statement, number one. Number two, Andy brought up Ralph. He used that Apollo story to bring up Kenya supposedly lusting behind Drew's husband, Ralph. Kenya was not lusting behind that man. They asked her in the confessional, was he a good-looking guy? Kenya said, yeah, he's a good-looking guy. The end. And then they showed the clip of when it happened, when Kenya walked in the house. I remember the scene. Kenya walked in. Ralph, he was greeting everybody at the door. So he opens the door. Kenya walks in. She gave him a one-arm and moved and went on by her business to where the ladies were. She said hello and kept it moving. Portia came in and hugged him and was like, oh, that Ralph. And then she went even further, and when she got to the table, she asked Drew for a threesome with her husband. Maybe she was joking. But why is it okay for Portia to joke like that but not Kenya? And then their Bravo is protecting Portia, and they didn't show that in the edit. They only showed Kenya greeting Ralph, but they didn't show when Kenya hugged Ralph because they know Kenya only did this and went on about her business. That really was Portia who was flirting with Ralph, let's be clear. And after watching a Bachelorette episode, we all know how Portia gets down. She's an equal opportunity lover. Okay, so let's get up off of Kenya with that, Andy. That was whack. It was stale and it was tired, but we're gonna move on from that. Okay, that little edit was just so wrong, but that's Andy going at Kenya per usual. Andy truly dislikes Kenya. Like, after this season, this reunion, I really see that he does not like Kenya at all. And he has said it often, that he adores Drew a whole lot. He loves Drew. She's a great addition to the show. I don't think she's all that great of an addition. Like I said before, I wanted to like Drew. I really did. And I thought she was going to be great. Her kids are so cute. They're adorable. I saw her little girl dancing with her and her husband in the kitchen. And I was like, just adorable. Adorable. But instead of Drew coming on being adorable, Drew came on like, I'm about to take Kenya down. Like, she came on with the same idea that Jackie from Real Housewives of New Jersey came on that franchise, coming for Teresa. And it just was a bad move on Jackie's end. Jackie was left crying after a couple of seasons once Teresa finally responded to her foolishness. I don't think that was the right way for Drew to come in, and it's just whack, you know. You like Drew. I don't think everybody likes Drew like that. Maybe when she comes back for another season, she'll show us a nicer side of her and leave the sneaky, messy part at home. She's supposed to be this Christian woman with her mom, or her mom doing Sunday service online, her husband playing the piano, and she sings the choir songs. If that's who you are, then show us peace and love and motivation and inspiration, not this negative spirit that you showed us this season. You know, I'm gonna say that Kenya, in the first part of the reunion, she did not defend herself that well. I felt like she was just letting a lot of stuff go by, and then LaToya came out at the end. And LaToya was like, what? And I said, oh, that's why Kenya's probably being quiet, because she's going to let LaToya do the dirty work. Just like Portia is letting Drew do the dirty work and let Shamia do the dirty work. Now Kenya is going to have LaToya. We'll see in part 2, though, how that plays out. Now, LaToya comes out and reveals Drew did something sneaky, messy. Sneaky, messy Drew had somebody in her glam staff go to LaToya's room out of the blue, okay, without speaking to her beforehand. Just send someone to her room. They come in with a camera in her face, giving her some vitamin C, saying, I heard you were sick or something like that. And I'm like, why would they come in filming her? First of all, that would let me know there were no good intentions behind that. Clearly, LaToya felt some type of way. And clearly something was said to Drew, because Drew then got on stage and said, oh, I know that happened. That's my bad. I have that person escorted out. They left. I sent them home, or however she said it. Drew, you set that up. You did that because you wanted to push LaToya's button so that LaToya comes out amped towards you, and that gives you a moment. So now you have a pre-planned moment for the reunion. First you had one with Kenya with Tweet, and now you have another one in case the one with Kenya didn't work out. You did the one with LaToya, just, you know, just for good measure. And I think it is so whack and corny. But girl, go ahead. So, in conclusion, I'm going to say that Real Housewives of Atlanta used to be like my favorite of the franchise. It really was. It used to be funny, and it was more fun than drama at one time. And I love all of them. I love Candy, Kenya, Nene, Sheree, Cynthia, Portia, and honorable mention, Shamari. I like Shamari, you know, minus the vomiting on screen. Yeah, but I love Shamari. She was funny. She was funny. I think they had a great dynamic. And then something just went wrong with this show. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's production, but it seems like the drama is not organic anymore, and it's overtaking the season. Like, you know, minus the Kenya and Phaedra situation, the shade was funny, instead of being meant to destroy a person's character, destroy a person's existence. That's what they're doing now. They're trying to destroy each other. And, you know, the talls versus the smalls was cute. It was funny. It was fun shade. The aunties versus the nieces is terrible. I don't like it. You know, I feel like I'm watching The Apprentice or Survival of the Fittest. I don't know. Everything is orchestrated. Everything. It seems like it's been overproduced. And I don't know. The show needs to go back to being more organic and, you know, with some more real friendships like New York. You know, New York. Ramona and, what is her name? Sonia. They argue and everything. Luann. They do a whole bunch of stuff, but they've been friends for decades. I said I was going to talk about Married to Medicine this episode, so here we are. Married to Medicine is my favorite show. It's my favorite show. I love it. You want to know why? Well, it's the only show we have where we see us living it up and black professionals. Like, they're doctors, for goodness sake. They're doctors. I love it. It's a group of black doctors that we get to see maneuvering through their lives and their busy schedules while saving other lives, you know. And where else are you going to go to see a group of black doctors on television? I mean, it's amazing. And as far as my favorites, I like them all for different reasons. So Dr. Heavenly, a boss. She's another Candy, in my opinion. Is she messy? Yes. But she's not sneaky messy. She's in your face messy. She's true to herself. She's honest. And that's what I love about her. She's honest. She's a go-getter. She's a high achiever. She's smart. And I love her family and the way she's raised her kids. Her kids are intelligent. They're mild-mannered, well-spoken, and they're following in their parents' footsteps. Like, it's a dream. She lives on 47 acres. Like, she has practices. Her husband has practices. He's gone back to school twice since the show came on, you know, since they started with Married to Medicine, and they're just an amazing couple. I love them. So they're my favorite. I like Dr. Jackie because she's a no-nonsense type of person. I did not like the situation with Buffy. I kind of like winced at Dr. Jackie that season. I was not really feeling her that much that season. But, you know, it just shocked me when she did that. But she apologized more than enough times to Buffy. So that's over with. It's in the past. Toya. I like Toya. Toya is funny. She provides the glam for the show. She is the quintessential trophy wife where she does nothing but takes care of the kids in the home and plays tennis. Eugene's mom came out with her Get It Girl tights on, and I was like, girl, go ahead now. She came out. I said, well, she's a young grandma. She's not that grandma that's at home cooking and watching the grandkids. She's like, oh no, I have to go to happy hour. I don't have time for this. And then Dr. Damon called her ma'am when she was complimenting the guys for being accomplished, successful black men. And he said, yes, ma'am. She said, don't ma'am me. Don't call me ma'am. I don't do ma'am. And I just thought it was hilarious, you know. He was just giving respect to his elder. It's a Southern thing. And it's just giving respect. It's not to make you feel old or anything like that. I typically say miss when I'm addressing a person that looks like they're close to my mom's age. And even if I don't know that they're near her age, if they have the look, I'm going to say miss, and I'm going to ask them, do you want to be called Miss Lisa or just Lisa? You know, and I proceed accordingly. until they don't deserve the respect. And then you just Lisa, girl. But pretty much that's a Southern thing. And I know a lot of people up north. DC is not the north though. DC is still the South, I believe. That whole Virginia, Maryland areas is like still the South. It's like the top of the South. But they're so close to the North that they don't really connect to a lot of our Southern ways. So that was funny to see that. And I want Cecil and Eugene's family to do a DNA test, because Eugene's dad looked like he's related to Cecil, and Eugene's mom looks related to Cecil. And with how our history is set up back in when our ancestors were captives and they separated us here and there and everywhere, you never know. So that's the end of Married to Medicine review, the end of Real Housewives of Atlanta part 1, reunion part 1. We'll pick that back up next week with reunion part 2. And now it's time to move on to our next segment. Did you know? Did you know? Today's Did You Know is actually courtesy of Dr. Heavenly's room game. When they were playing the game to pick a room on the bus or to get the second best room or whatever, Heavenly asked a question, and not a lot of people seem to know the answer to this question except for Dr. Eugene about the mapping of the land for DC, and that it was Benjamin Banneker. So you like to hear all about it? Here it goes. Benjamin Banneker. He was born in November of 1731 in Baltimore, Maryland, when enslavement was at an all-time high. However, he was born free to free parents who owned a 100-acre tobacco farm. His dad was a former captive of the Europeans, and his mom was Irish and black. Okay, and I believe his mom's mother was an indentured servant from Ireland. There were many Irish indentured servants here, and an indentured servant was someone who had a time cap on their duties, sort of, similar to slavery, but not quite. They were released after a certain amount of time. So I believe that had a lot to do with the Banneker family's freedom. Okay, so Banneker was one of very few in his area who can read and write and had a formal education. His grandmother had a little small school where she taught the Irish kids and the black kids in the area to read, write, and do mathematics. So that's why he was able to achieve what he did in life, and also self-study. Once he grew up, he would study on his own and learn things from other people that were doing the things that he had interest in. So as an adult, Banneker sold some of his farmland to facilitate his time for studying, the teaching he was doing, and the creation of his many inventions. On July 16, 1790, Congress passed the Residence Act, which established a new federal city to be constructed along the Potomac River. We know that place now. That's where the White House is, the state capitol is, and what have you, okay? So President George Washington appointed 3 commissioners to oversee this new construction. One of the people was George Washington's cousin named Andrew Ellicott. Ellicott actually moved in town next to Benjamin Banneker's farm, okay? Ellicott and Banneker became friends, and Ellicott gave Banneker's, because he was an astronomer and a land surveyor, and so he gave some of his books on those topics to Banneker because he was interested in learning more about that, and he did. And so when it came time to do this mapping of the land for DC, Ellicott pulled Banneker up and was like, hey, why don't you come join me on this project? So Banneker joined him to map out the federal government locations of DC. And of course, they don't mention Banneker much in the original historical documents regarding this, but he was there, okay? And that's probably why many people are not aware of it. In this day and time with the internet and it's a lot of stuff being updated, you should know, but some people don't know. So Banneker plotted the boundary lines for DC, and he observed the overall layout. He was a master at latitude and longitude, and so he was able to precisely map out those lines for where everything should lay. And he also maintained the regulator clock that was used to do this work. What else? Ellicott and all the white people that were a part of this project were paid $5 a day. That was standard at that time. Banneker was paid $2 a day. So he was paid less than what his white counterparts were making. And you know, are you surprised? No. It sounds very familiar because it still occurs today. It's just the dollar amount gap is much wider. So because Banneker proved that he was intelligent and that black people had the ability to actually retain information and be intelligent, they said, oh, he did all of that for $2 a day at a lesser rate? How about we just get all the black slaves and have them, or captives, because I don't like the word slave, get all the black captives and have them come, and we just pay them dirt cheap to build the White House and actually build the state capitol and all those things. And you know, we kind of see the same people, the Europeans, now doing that to the Hispanic community, because they're getting paid under the table. A lot of them, they can't even really complain about being cheated out of their money, you know. So it was the same thing at that time with Banneker. So I'm going to end it there, and that is today's Did You Know? Okay, that's our show, guys. Until the next episode, please leave your questions and comments below this video. Let me know if you have any topics you want me to speak on. Let me know if you liked anything or disagreed with anything I had to say in this episode of the Josephine Review Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends all about me so I can get my followers up, my subscribers up. Like, come on, help a sister out. But before I bid you adieu, here is a message that hopefully inspires you. Motivation and inspiration of the day. Okay. Motivation and inspiration of the day is spread love and not war. Spread love and not war. Focus on what you love and not what you dislike. A lot of people tend to focus on negativity in situations. No matter how much good happens, they only tend to see the teeny tiny one little negative thing that happened in that situation. That's not good, because what you focus on is what you manifest. Okay? What you focus on is what you manifest. If you don't want to manifest negativity all over, out, in, and through your life, then you need to focus on positivity so you can manifest positive things throughout your life. Okay? Give the negativity the least amount of attention. Focus more on the positive that came from the situation. There's always something positive. There's always a lesson being learned in a situation. Find the lesson. Find the lesson, because that sometimes is the positivity. Find the lesson, find the positivity, focus on that, and positivity will vibrate throughout your life. Trust me, I do it and it works, okay? If more love is what you want in your life, and today we all need more love, especially being locked up in the home. Some people can't handle being quarantined and shut in and not having direct communication with people. You know, we need more love. If you need more love and it's what you want in your life, you have to give more love. Give more love. Give positivity. Okay? Inspire someone. There is someone around you who needs a pick-me-up. You may not know that they need it, but if you feel it, give it. Okay? Positivity breeds positivity. Okay? So spread love, not war. All right. May God bless you and his way impress you. Later.